Okay, guys. I guess I'm live, so I'll share this. It is 1 a.m. in Toronto, Canada. I guess that's Eastern Standard Time. Some people are asleep, some people are not. It's not just time difference; it's the hurricane, right? Okay, so this is for my blog on the culture proof. Um, the question I'm asking myself is, what is Canada's real crisis? And I am going to say it is not the abortion law. It is not the impending mortgage, maybe mortgage collapse. Even though those are short term conundrums or dilemmas, or well, personal. There are conundrums. Even though it's abortion law, there's a lot of social. What do you call it? Social debate, right? And then there's the mortgage. There's the mortgage, impending mortgage crisis, right? So they're all short term. But what's Canada's real long term crisis, and who will survive it, or who will fare best, or who will be have the best odds of surviving it? And it is Canada's slowing growth in terms of GDP per person. So during the 80s, which is sort of like my era when I came to Canada as part of the wave of boat refugees. Um, we during the 80s there was that financial boom, right? Financial boom, and it lifted all of North America up, including Canada. So when Vietnamese boat refugees came, uh, we took part in that sort of like a booming economy, and growth of GDP per person was very high, and it got so high that Canada, as a nation, was able to balance its budget. GDP to expenses like healthcare, the military, all that stuff, and taxes collected, all that. It was able to balance its budget. And that was one of the um, hallmarks, bragging rights of the Canadian economy, Canadian nation, was that it had a balanced budget. When the United States and other countries like Japan or whatnot um, were running deficits, right? Europe and so on were running deficits. Canada had a balanced budget. But now I think that growth in GDP has slowed down, and at the same time, costs has risen. Costs associated with the environmental movement, right? Environmentalism. So there's a lot of um, uh, you know drag. It's a huge drag on the crude oil industry for sure. There's also, like human rights, so it's a huge drag on mining resources, healthcare. Everybody's very aware of their health, so it's a huge drag on all these things that used to just take place kind of laissez-faire. The word is laissez-faire, right? Like easygoing capitalism, right? And easygoing like manufacturing or uh, natural resources, right? Easygoing, right? But now garbage, how high, mounds of garbage. So things aren't so easygoing anymore. So a lot of things are dragging um, down what they call GDP growth, GDP productivity per person, right? So that per person it has slowed, um, and cost has risen, right? So at the same time, GDP has slowed per person, while cost per person has gone up. So the people who will fare best are one, like people with great jobs, like like manufacturing jobs, right? Or people in essential services um, that are unionized, but they're also essential services like paramedics, firefighters, police officers, and so on and so forth. Um, and also, what else will fare well? New immigrants surprisingly will fare very well because they're starting out fresh, right? And sometimes some of these new immigrants might come with might arrive here with some capital, so they can open a fresh business. I'm not talking about like a risky business, but hopefully a business that they have experience in. So people with great jobs, like these types of essential services or manufacturing-based jobs, um, like teachers as well, right? Right, and doctors and nurses, and then new immigrants who can start fresh. Either they bring capital and open businesses, or else they're currently being supported and finishing school. Like say, if a refugee is a doctor, they're sort of it's welfare, but it's not the same as poverty welfare, because what they're doing is they're renewing their license, right? So they have to take their examinations all over again. So it's a different kind of social support, but it's still tight, but still it's gonna lead somewhere. So new immigrants, refugees, because they have fresh start, and people with those types of wonderful jobs. Um, the people who pretty much are gonna be caught in the crunch are like people who went for the entrepreneurial craze, self-employment craze, gig craze. Um, People who threw their sort of like their rest of their life savings or rest of their life earnings behind these gimmicky startups, because it's a little bit like the dot-com boom of 2000, 1999, 1998 dot-com boom. It's a little bit like that. Personally, that's what I think. Maybe not as bad because the dot-com boom and then dot-com bust, but this is the echo. This is the echo of that, and what's happening with history is kind of repeating itself, with the mortgage-backed papers and subprime mortgages in the United States led to the recession. It might happen up here. It stands a strong chance of happening up here again. Subprime mortgages, where applicants lied about their income, and if you sold those as mortgage-backed papers, it might lead to another collapse. Um, what was I going to say? What was I going to say? So ultimately, how does this impact us? I mean, these are all very, very rational economic theory. How's it going to impact us? It means that in retirement, right, Canadians are more on their own than ever before. That means the government will contribute less in your retirement to your income, such as your pension, right? Your government pension or public pension or Canadian pension. So will have to rely more on private pension, like pension from your employer or your own sort of investment management strategy. All right. So Canadians are more on their own than ever before. Okay. So it means maybe if you got the cash, you might go for private healthcare. You know, a clinic that will take you right away for surgeries instead of having to wait along with the rest of Canadians. Um, in the local market. Um, but those are people with above average retirement income. If you're relying on the usual retirement income from the government pension check, right, and old age security and stuff like that, you're more on your own now than ever before. I think that. I think that because in terms of inflation, in terms of like, take for example, if you're old and you're still renting, the government will not increase your old age security because rent in Toronto is sky high. So really, you are more on your own than ever before. And rent in Toronto today is more than it was back in the 80s when everything was booming. Can you believe that? Rent in Toronto today for an old person is more than it was in the 80s when the economy was booming. But Social Security, old age Social Security, is not, cannot keep up with that. That's not inflation. That's something else. That kind of real estate boom is not inflation. It will only keep up with inflation, which basically is a basket of goods, right? Um, Eggs, bread, milk, that's it. But this type of real estate boom are for millionaires. So you're more on your own than ever before. That's my conjecture. How am I going to do it? I'm just going to look at the data as so I'm expecting GDP per person to go down. I'm expecting healthcare costs per person to go up. And what else? And I might I forgot something else. Maybe I might show like rent to inflation, like how rent is like a steep hill, but inflation is just like a gentle no. I don't know. I just show a bunch of lines going up and down, and you can see, right? It's simple like that. And I slept all afternoon. See you on the other side on my blog, thecultureproof.com.